coming and dedicating this amazing time on a Saturday, Easter Saturday, for our lovely London College of Vedic Studies, obviously with His Grace Sakura Prabhu, to discuss success secrets from the Bhagavad-gita. So what we advertised was that everybody's looking for success in their life, whether it's a small thing or a big thing, whether it's your career, your household, your relationships. We all want them to be successful, isn't it? So obviously, in today's society, there are so many ways that we can hear about success stories through social media, training seminars, self-help books, these kinds of things. But these are all quite modern, but you find when you trace them back, it's always coming from the Gita anyway, and from the Vedas. So obviously our very expert teacher here today is here to share with you these success secrets directly from the Bhagavad-gita. So we're very thrilled to have you here today, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
So I hand it over to you.
Thank you.
Krishna. And if you need anything, my name is Bryony, so please don't hesitate to ask. Hare Krishna.
So thank you very much for coming. One important part of success is failure. So the founder of IBM, IBM, now it's maybe Lenovo, but IBM is famous computer company. I forgot his name, maybe Watson, Mr. Watson. He said he has three Fs as a success formula: fail, forward, fast. Fail, forward, fast. So he thinks if you increase the rate of failure, you will arrive faster to success. So failure is very important in success. And I want to start with failure. Srila Prabhupada said that failure is a pillar of success. Failure is a pillar of success. So one of the first principles of success is that you should not be afraid of failure. And you should get discouraged when you fail in your attempts to achieve anything. Now, there is a saying, everything is hard before it's easy. And one thing that successful people have is success mindset, the way they think, the way they see the world. So, I gave class on Friday, and then John Viper questioned my point. I said that Krishna says, Bhava Grahi Janardana, that he looks at the attitude of a devotee, he doesn't look so much at results. And then he said, but we still have to have some results. And it's a good point, good question. And then he said, so how do we understand this? That attitude is important to Krishna, but we still are asked by Prabhupada and by ISKCON and by our gurus to deliver some results in book distribution, in preaching, in devotees, plates of prasadam distributed, festivals organized, people supported, so many things. And I said that the attitude is essential, because if you don't have a right attitude and right motivation, right mindset, then you will be a shooting star and you will be shining on the sky of Krishna consciousness for some time and then disappear. So therefore, the proper consciousness, proper attitude, proper motivation is very important to cultivate all the time, and also from the very beginning. So now, as Mataji said, that success principles are timeless, and they are everywhere. You can find them in all the scriptures of the world. You can find them in the Bible, you can find them in the Torah, you can find them in the Quran. You can find some principles in Buddhist scriptures, but they are incomplete. And then now if you go to Waterstones, you see so many books on success, shelves full of books, how to be happy, successful, rich. And America was teaching us that success means money. And I don't know if you have heard about Mike Posner. He's a famous musician, young generation, And Jai Shetty, or Ghanshyam Prabhu, he made an interview with him, and he said interesting thing. He said, when I started my career, I wanted to become famous and successful, and some people were telling me that money is not everything. And then he was thinking that they tell me that money is not everything because they don't have money. And they cannot earn money. So they are kind of consoling themselves, try to pacify themselves, and preach to themselves, and maybe also use it as an excuse not to make more money. And he said, I will show them, I will become rich and famous. And he did it. But what happened? He actually didn't become happy by becoming rich and famous. So he has fans who adore him. He has a house in Beverly Hills, that's Hollywood. Now Jai Shetty is also in Hollywood, and he's interviewing famous people and successful people, and many of them are actually becoming deep thinkers. They are think deeply, and this is podcast with Mike Posner is the first time I hear Jai Shetty discussing Bhagavad-gita directly and openly. And it was so wonderful to hear, and even Mike Posner read the Bhagavad-gita, and he finds some inspiration and wisdom and life direction from the Gita. And now his life direction is very interesting, almost funny. He has a house in Beverly Hills, but he lives in a van. He prefers to live in a van. And now he's walking from the East Coast to the West Coast of America on his feet. He's walking. And now, of course, journalists are following him, interviewing him. He has grown a beard. And he's trying to show people something deeper, something higher. And he said that he really liked reading the Bhagavad-gita. And we know throughout the history that many famous people have studied Bhagavad-gita. So principles of success are everywhere, and principles of success are timeless. They are given by God. We call them also God's laws or nature's laws, and they are also in the Bhagavad-gita. And I have selected 6 verses which describe 6 principles of success. They can help us in our life very much if we use them. I have been using them for many years since I became aware of success and of the fact that we can work systematically on our success. And today we will cover 3, and next Saturday other 3. So they are: ask excellent questions, use positive language, expand your intelligence, grow giver's heart, become a trusted guide, and make a wonderful contribution. So how I came up with these 6. Once I had a session with the coach. I wanted to speak about writing a book, because many people are asking me, when will you write a book? And I said, I don't know. And so I tried to be like a little bit responsible, and I decided to have a session and speak about potential book writing. And I was thinking which chapters, or what would be the titles or chapters of the book. And then my coach was guiding me nicely and listening and asking me some questions, helping me to think more clearly about what I want. And I came up with these 6. I think these 6 are very important, and if you use one of them or all of them, you can be very successful. So all of these are illustrated in one way or the other in the Bhagavad-gita, all these 6, and practically for each principle we have some reference verses, or at least one verse, and I will mention them and I will give you the number so you can study them from that point of view. So I have been studying Bhagavad-gita from the point of view of success for 20 years. And when I start reading it from that point of view, I have found so much, so many principles, so many tools, so many ideas that can help myself and others in our attempt to be successful. So we will start with asking excellent questions, and we want to look at some of Arjuna's questions that he asked in the Bhagavad-gita. The first question in the Gita is not Arjuna's question, it's Dhritarashtra's question. He is asking, when the sons of Pandu and his sons assembled at the Kurukshetra, what did they do? And Srila Prabhupada says, this question is a little bit funny, because if you sit for a meal, what will you do? You will eat. If you come to the battlefield, it's obvious that you are just about to start fighting. But anyway, Dhritarashtra asked because he was interested. The reason actually is explained by Srila Prabhupada in his purports. He was apprehensive, he was a little bit afraid, because Dharma Kshetra is a place of pilgrimage, and he knew that Pandavas are very pious, and that the reason why he was asking is that he was afraid for the destiny of his sons. Arjuna is starting his questions in the first chapter, which sound a little bit like excuses not to fight. So, O Govinda, of what avail to us are a kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield? Again, so now he is listing the fathers, sons, etc. I will not read everything. And so he is asking three questions in three verses, 32 to 35, or this is 4 verses. And he is expressing, he says that I'm not ready to fight against these people. They are my cousins, my teachers, etc. He's asking what pleasure we will derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra. So he's starting his sophisticated excuse. And one of the greatest obstacles to success are excuses that we make. We have a tendency to make excuses. And one wonderful question that we can use when we notice or other people point out that we are making excuses is, what would you like to have in your life, excuses or results? And if you want to have excuses, you can become an expert in making excuses, but you will not be able to deceive a coach who can see through your excuses, like Arjuna wasn't able to convince Krishna with his Vedic excuses. He was giving amazing arguments from the moral point of view, from the Vedic point of view. So he's starting his questions, and they have to do with his point that he doesn't want to fight, and he has reasons for this. So why should we destroy your family? Women will remain unprotected, they will become unchaste. And he's just asking, how can I counteract Bhishma, Drona? They are worthy of my worship. So these were his initial questions in the Gita, and I have collected or compiled all the questions that he asked in the Gita, and this file will be available to you. I can send it to Mataji, and then she can send you. But the first I would say, verse that is going into a direction of success is 2:7, when he says that he is ready to listen. So he says, please instruct me. It's not exactly a question, there is not a question mark, but basically he is asking for help, he is asking for direction. He's asking for direction. So 2:7, this is where he's asking a question that doesn't look like a question. And now this is another powerful... we all say that Bhagavad-gita starts with 2:13 when we learn, and the first lesson of the Bhagavad-gita is that we are not this body, but actually I disagree. I think the first principle of success described in the Gita is, in this verse, that Arjuna is asking for help. So we need help. And to ask for help is also a sign of humility. Arjuna was such an intelligent person, capable, great warrior. And is it possible to open the window a little bit? To have at least a little bit of air in the back. So he says, I'm confused. So it's okay to be confused, it's okay to admit we are confused, and it's okay to ask for help. And now there are so many people who are offering us help. Some charge a lot for this help, some offer help for free. But whatever help we can, that's better. Whatever help we can afford, or whatever help we want to take, then the point is to actually take help and be open to help. To be open to learn something, to be open to practice something, to be open to test something, to try something. This kind of attitude will bring us forward to success, and we have direction in the Bhagavad-gita in Arjuna's example. He is asking for help. So maybe sometimes you feel like asking for help, but you don't trust anyone and you don't know whom to ask for help. And sometimes we are not even aware we need help, or we don't know whom to ask, how to ask, or we are really embarrassed to ask for help because it may look like we are incapable. Looks like we are incapable, and it's embarrassing to be incapable, and it's embarrassing to ask for help. But Arjuna, we will never be qualified as Arjuna is. He is asking for help, so what to speak of us? So this is a powerful success principle, which we already find in questions of Arjuna. Another question is coming at the 54th verse of the second chapter. Now, Krishna has explained to Arjuna the difference between the body and the soul, and Arjuna has concluded that it's good to be transcendental, it's good to be spiritual, and now he's inquiring about the qualities of a person who is transcendental. How does he speak? How does he walk? What is his language? How does he sit? And Krishna will explain from 54th to the 72nd, the last verse in the chapter, wonderful verses these are one of my favorite sections, which describe actually the qualities of a transcendental person. So this is a very important section, second chapter, 54 to 72, and Krishna is answering Arjuna's question. So this is for us also an excellent question, that what would be the ideal of myself? What is the ideal I want to achieve? So I want to develop transcendental consciousness, higher consciousness. Now at the beginning of the third chapter, Arjuna is expressing his doubt. So one of the excellent questions that we can learn from Arjuna is to, when we are in doubt, don't be afraid, don't be ashamed to ask. I remember I was asking my spiritual master in front of devotees some questions and everybody was laughing. But for me, these are very important questions. For example, I asked, if we are disturbed, if our mind is disturbed, can we take shelter of prasadam? And he said, how do you do that? How will you take shelter of prasadam? You put it on your head or something? I said, no, Guru Maharaj, by eating. And he said, you are fully empowered to do this. And he gave me his blessings. And I can still say, after 36 years, I'm still prasadam bhakta, but now my health is forcing me to eat less and to eat less frequently and to eat less sweets. So this is what you can expect in 40 years or 30 years of your life. For devotees it was a funny question, but for me it was important that my Guru Maharaj approves my strategy that I already started using as help for my mental disturbance in Krishna consciousness. Some devotees find it helpful maybe to play a guitar a little bit or to do something that they like to do to pacify the mind or to make the mind satisfied. But whatever we do, it should be bona fide and it should not entangle us in some lower consciousness. So this is Arjuna is not afraid to express his doubts, and this is what we should follow in his footsteps. And in several places he is asking Krishna to clarify. So sometimes we can ask our Guru Maharaj or preachers to clarify what they mean and how we should apply something, some principle. Now, an amazing question in the 3rd chapter, 36th verse. By what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? Now this also sounds a little bit like an excuse. This also sounds like, oh, we are victims. Sounds like a victim, like, oh my God, some external force is forcing me to be sinful, and we know that we have a power of choice. And we need to exercise sincerity in the moment of choice. We know what is to be done, what is not to be done. So, but still, Arjuna is curious to know what kind of energies operate in the material world and what can actually misguide us and degrade us. And two functions of Maya are avaranatmika Shakti and prakshapatmika Shakti. Maya has a role to cover us over and to drag us down. Cover us over and drag us down. She's very good at her service to keep conditioned souls distant from Krishna. So Krishna says it's lust only. Krishna replies it's lust only, which is the all-pervading, all-devouring enemy of the conditioned soul. We have been given lust as energy so that we can forget Krishna and we can try to enjoy the material world, to enjoy matter. Another question Arjuna asked is, how can he understand that Vivasvan is senior by birth to him? So how could have possibly Krishna instructed him in the beginning? And Krishna explains this. Now, I will not go through all the questions, but you can get them and you can study them, and you can choose what of Arjuna's questions you can use. So Arjuna asked excellent questions, but one question that probably is most important for us, Arjuna asked, what is most beneficial for me? What is most beneficial? This question we can use all the time, every day. What is most beneficial for me in the next hour? What is most beneficial for me in the next minute? What is the best, most valuable use of my time right now? We can ask. This is the variation of that question by Arjuna. What is the most valuable use of my time for myself and others in the next hour or in the next minute or in the next 10 minutes? And throughout the day, when we walk around the city or anywhere, we can ask ourselves occasionally, am I using my time in the optimal way? Is this the best way to spend my time? So what is most beneficial for me? Arjuna is asking. offer you some practical tools that you can use, like choice map. Choice map is something that we will not get into in more detail, but I can send it to you and I can explain to you how it works. This is a very short seminar, so we will touch upon some things. Choice map is a simple drawing that shows us how we have a choice, how we will think about anything, and what questions we will ask ourselves about any situation that we face in life. And you can choose questions in the mode of goodness or questions in the mode of ignorance and passion. So questions in the mode of ignorance and passion are like, who's to blame, why they are so stupid, why I am so stupid. They're very negative questions, or questions that accuse others, that criticize, that lead to criticism. And questions in the mode of goodness are questions that focus on the solution, not on the problem. Focus on the solution. It is a very nice colorful drawing. I will show it to you. I can bring it next Saturday and show it to you. So this is one thing I want to give you, and I have been trained in one system of coaching over the past year. Last year I was here. I was in a small town south of London, in Surrey. It's called Godalming. It even has a name God in its name, so I also like it because of that. And one kind lady, she let me go to the seminar for free. I told her I'm not a businessman and I will use what I learned to help people. And she agreed to let me. It's an expensive seminar. It's 3 parts. It's about £1,000. But I would like to share with you what I have learned there. And important part of this approach to coaching is questions. It's called incisive questions. Do you know what incise means? To incise? It's like, I can say it's like root out. Like if I want to incise this, then I do like this and get it out. Like rooting out. So incisive questions are like penetrating questions, we may say. And the purpose of these questions is to help us to eliminate limiting assumptions that we have in our thinking about anything, especially about things that are not easy or that we are not sure if we can do. So we assume so many things, we prejudge, we have a prejudice about what can be done, what can be done. And when you use these questions, then you can, it's like a surgical operation, you get free from questions that don't help your success. So thinking is consisted of questions and answers, and if we ask better questions, we will get better answers about any area, any relationship, any task, any goal, any project. Einstein said, if you give me a problem that my life depends on, and you give me 1 hour to solve it, I will use 55 minutes only to find the best questions, and I will solve it in 5 minutes. He valued questions so much. He said, I'm not a genius, I was just very inquisitive. So we will speak about inquisitiveness in our third part, expanding intelligence. But questions will also be important in expanding our intelligence, because questions stimulate, excellent questions stimulate our intelligence. And so now there is so much to learn about questions from the Shastra. In the first canto, Suta Goswami is thanking the sages of Naimisharanya and Shonaka Rishi for asking six questions on which the whole Bhagavatam is based. And he says, your questions are worthy, your questions are glorious. And it is said that if anyone asks us a good question, we should thank them. We should thank them, and because this will allow us to give an answer based on the scriptures. And in the purport to this verse, and this verse is Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 5, Srila Prabhupada, the whole purport dedicates to questions. Importance of inquiry. Adhato Brahma Jigyasa, in our philosophy, inquiry is so important. Inquiry and service and submission, these are three attitudes with which we approach the spiritual master. So asking relevant questions, and we call these questions excellent questions. Excellent questions is a question actually that helps your success, that will help your success, your progress, your moving forward. This is what I mean by excellent questions. And we have different dialogues in the scriptures, and there is questions and answers there. Different sages and devotees ask either Krishna or other devotees excellent questions, and we can use some of these questions or all of these questions for our own success. But we need to look for questions. And if you want to find questions in one place, devotees from Vanipedia, online encyclopedia of Srila Prabhupada's teachings, have been collecting or compiling categories. There is 14,000 categories, 14,000 categories of quotes. It's called Vani quotes. And there is two categories that I recommend to you. One is called questions asked of Srila Prabhupada, and another is called questions asked by Srila Prabhupada. Of course, he would ask a question then answer it also. He said sometimes one may ask, or sometimes the question is asked and he would answer it also. So if you want to study Shastri questions, now there is other questions from our day-to-day life, and we can learn from people who are trying to have a better life, who are trying to enjoy the material world. They have learned that questions will help them to achieve their goals, the right questions. And for example, if you want to achieve a goal, it's very obvious that we should ask ourselves, how can I achieve this goal? Or who can help me? Who can teach me? Who is already successful? Can I interview them? Should I interview them? Should I learn from them? Many obvious questions, but what I would like to do is to become more conscious. What questions are you asking yourself throughout the day? And this affects your inner dialogue, and this will be the topic of our next theme, and it is about using positive language. The questions are also, if you have positive questions, your language, your thinking will be positive. So, do you have any questions about questions? And after your questions, I will give you a very practical tool that you can use for yourself. This is a little bit like a fast course, but still you can get a lot if you apply these things. So do you have any questions about questions? Yes.
I can't ask, you call excellent questions.
Yes.
So is that means because I'm not really thinking, or I'm not engaging, or what is a cause of me not asking good questions?
It's a question of practicing and learning about questions. That's why I'm teaching this, learning from the Shastra and learning from some professional sources. I mean, I have been collecting books and articles about questions for 20 years, so you can imagine I have a huge electronic library, and I can share with you for free. So you can learn. And you can choose. This will bring us to our last part of this first part, about creating your own questions. So regarding being intelligent or not, in the Shastra there is discussion. Prabhupada said women are less intelligent, and nowadays it's very difficult actually to explain this to people and even to ourselves. These statements. I would ask Prabhupada now, why this our Rupa Goswami, why it is said? Because nowadays, maybe you have heard, you can measure like at least 7 types of intelligence. So no one can say that they are totally stupid. In one area, they can be very, capable and intelligent. In another area, maybe not so. And I personally always thought that women are more intelligent than men. I mean, before I joined, even after I joined, because they are practical, they have the emotional intelligence, they have so many intelligences. And one intelligence that they have is this emotional intelligence. They can be very loving, especially with children. With husband, it depends. It can be loving, but also can be very sharp. Or strict, that's the word. So, I don't believe that anybody is stupid. You can see a tree. When the branch of a tree hits the obstacle, it goes around it. So, how is this happening if the tree doesn't have intelligence? I mean, animals are so intelligent. Emotional also, they cry sometimes. So, the door is open or? No. So, never believe that you are stupid, especially if other people tell you. But even if your mind tells you, this is not true. It's not true. We have this learner approach or learner mindset. We are always eager to learn, and it has to do with our third topic of expanding our intelligence. We will speak about this more. So, it's better to be curious than to listen to the message that we are stupid. If somebody is curious, how can he be stupid? I mean, he wants to learn something. He wants to know about something. He's working on getting more intelligent, so that means he's intelligent. So it's a question of practice, it's a question of learning, and I will give you I already gave you one amazing question. What do you want to have in your life, excuses or results? So with this question you can make wonders in your life. Yes?
It's not about the question, but I'm one step ahead. Like today's seminar is based on success, principles of success.
Yes?
Now my question is, success is very subjective. What seems success to you may not necessarily mean success to me.
Okay.
So when you are, now we're talking on a more generic level of how to approach that success. So my question is, how do we apply that, what somebody else is seeking for is not necessarily what I'm seeking for.
These principles are valid for any goal, any definition of success, whether spiritual or material. These are universal. But Prabhupada defines success
As being that transcendental consciousness is success.
No, Prabhupada has defined success very specifically in one conversation. I mean, there is many definitions.
So how does Prabhupada define success?
Yeah, I will tell you. He said, he defined first knowledge. He says, knowledge means to know Him. Knowledge means to know Krishna. And success means to what?
Understand?
To understand? That's the beginning. Success means to
Realize, Randa, completely? Love?
what?
Love?
Love? Yeah, you are close. What we are trying to do in Krishna consciousness.
Surrender, serve.
Yeah, but something more practical.
Follow.
What?
Follow.
Follow?
Serve?
Serve, yes. We are close, very close. These are all right, but it's wrong. I mean, we didn't hit the nail. We didn't hit
Devotional service?
Prabhupada. Yeah, what we are trying to do with devotional service. We're trying to... What?
Please, Krishna.
He will get a cookie, I don't have it. To please Krishna. Prabhupada said, success means to please Him. I'm so happy to share with you this because this is our the highest definition of success. And now you can define success in different areas. You can define what success means to you in your marriage, whatever. So, in the sixth part, we will speak about creating a personal mission statement, where you will define what kind of success you want to have in your life. So we will come to this. Okay, one more question, and then I will give you the last thing from the first part. So, any questions about questions or about anything? Yeah.
Just one small question. The master was asking about different type of intelligence and so on, but intelligence, when we say we're comparing, aren't we? We're comparing, men and women. But what about, the most intelligent person today wouldn't be considered intelligent like 5,000 years ago in Vedic times, would they? So it's all relative, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and in the future, someone who's very intelligent then, probably the person now who's not particularly intelligent will be considered greatly intelligent. It depends on the culture, isn't it? Really, someone from the Vedic culture, a simple person would be very intelligent compared to someone today. Really, so it's all relative. Really, it's all. I know that one Mataji here. She's the head Pujari, she was Prabhupada disciple. She did an IQ test from IBM, the big computer company, because they wanted to recruit people. This is before she became a devotee. And so it's a really good test, and she scored 169 in that test. Now, people know about IQ test, 145 and you can become a member of a special society.
Mensa.
Yeah, 169 she scored on that test, and she became a devotee after that. I asked her, why did you apply? She said, I wasn't interested in getting a job, I just wanted to know my IQ.
Very nice.
And then after that she became a devotee, she joined the Hare Krishna movement. So.
Now they speak about, there is books on spiritual intelligence. There is books, but the way they define it is not as we define it. For us, spiritual intelligence means intelligence with which you please Krishna. Devotees serve, give love, service. But they have a little bit different, a little bit maybe impersonal definition. But they speak about spiritual intelligence. They speak a lot. They make distinction between emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence. They are interrelated, but other types. And for us, I think it's a platform to present our own understanding of spiritual intelligence, and whoever likes it, they can take it like this. Okay, my last tool that I want to give you. Actually, I want this seminar to be like a beginning of a long-term cooperation between you and me, and not only me, but anybody who is teaching these things. I have friends also that you can connect with, devotees. So they're teachers, coaches, trainers, long-term. So this is more like a taster. The tool is called personal questions. So of all questions that you get from the scriptures, all the questions that you get from professionals, from coaches, for experts in questions or in inquiry, that you should select the questions that will help your success and that are related to your goals, and create a set of daily questions that you want to ask yourself, and these questions cover the most important areas of your life. And if you have someone who can ask you these questions, it's already like a coaching session when somebody asks you your own questions. So you don't have to pay an expensive coach. You can actually have a friend who will ask you your own questions, and you can ask them their own questions. You can have a mutual coaching session where you help each other with your priorities, keeping track of your priorities. So, for example, you would like to ask a devotee to ask you, have you chanted your rounds today attentively? And then you say, well. Then next day you're chanting and you say, oh my God, tonight I have to answer this question honestly. Better I chant attentively. So this can help you to focus on your goal of chanting attentively, because you know you will report to someone. So you can have between 5 and 10 questions for each day, and ask yourself, and in this way keep track of your progress. How are you doing on your priorities? You can tell me that something is important to you, but I can challenge you and ask that if something is important to you, if something is really important to you, then how much time do you spend on this every day? If something is important to us, we find time for this. We find time. Now, please think for a few minutes. We'll do a little exercise. What one question, if you would ask yourself every day, would make the biggest positive difference in your life? If you have, you can write it down. We'll share in a minute. Try to go for the best of the best of the best. Really, the question when you read it, it really like gets you going, inspires you, clarifies things.
So could you repeat the question, please?
What one question, if you would ask yourself every day, would make the biggest positive difference in your life? In your day and in your life. Maybe better in your day, it's more like more specific, more narrowed down. In the middle somewhere. Yeah. Yes. 12? Yeah. Waking about 10 to 12. Yeah. So you can give me a sign. Okay, so let's hear some of your questions if you have them. Yes.
This is with Siti. Mother Urmila, she said to ask in one of the workshop, and she said that this is a question we should ask. Can I just say? And then
Yes.
my host. She said, "Am I pleasing Krishna right now?"
This
Through the day.
wonderful.
And so like similar things. So I said, "Is my Guru Mahari pleased with me right now?"
Wow, fantastic. Thank you. Excellent. Yes. Yes.
This is something I've been meditating on. If today is the last day of my life, how will I conduct myself?
Ooh, fantastic. So live every day as if it's the last day of your life.
And what is the most important thing in that?
Then you are really aware of your priorities. If you think like this, yeah. You can't miss it. Excellent. You do your best to do your last best thing or whatever. Yeah, that's great. Anybody else?
Am I being of service?
Am I being of service? This is a little general. To whom?
To Krishna?
To Krishna. Okay. That's more specific. Krishna is very specific. He's a specific person. Nice. Okay. Any other? Yeah.
Will this action help you to progress?
Will this action help me
To progress.
to progress? Excellent. Yes, this is more down to earth,
Yeah.
but it is very important. Yeah.
Is this activity what I do is related to Krishna consciousness?
Okay, that's also nice. Yes.
Could I have used my time better?
Yeah. What is this music? It's not from the temple. From the street. Okay. It's so strong, so loud. I think my recorder will catch it. So, I believe you are beginning to see the value of questions, at least a little bit, that if you use your intelligence to create questions that will help you throughout the day, and you use them, maybe have them on a card, like an index card, or on your screen somewhere. Nowadays they have also applications, Android applications and iPhone applications that help with personal development, and they ask you questions, through the application. You click on the date and they ask you maybe daily questions for your success, and then you see, oh my God, this is a good question for today. But you can create your own questions, you can share questions with your friends, you can learn from others and ask yourself questions. This from Mother Urmila, a fantastic question. Am I pleasing Krishna right now? One question you can ask, am I acting out of love or out of fear? Or thinking also. Thinking or acting out of love or out of fear. I had one Facebook post that if your heart is full of love, there is no space for fear. So if we fill our heart, how to get free from fear, fill your heart with love. By hook or by crook. Pour it in somehow. Drink it. So, you can always share with me if you like. I can share with you on my library. And I will give you also my email and Facebook and WhatsApp number. You can contact me anytime after the seminar. One thing about my seminars is that they don't end when they end. Actually, after the seminar, I'm available for lifetime cooperation. So you can contact me anytime, and I will do my best to serve you, help your success. But mostly, the success I'm teaching is based on the Bhagavad-gita. From the material world, on the principle of Yukta Vairagya, we can take some tools, and basically, it's the same principles.
Can you explain Yukta Vairagya?
Yukta Vairagya means using everything in Krishna's service, seeing everything as meant for Krishna's pleasure, and using everything as Krishna's service. So people are creating amazing tools for success in the material world to enjoy their senses and material success. Well, we are taking this and using it for pleasing Krishna and serving devotees. And Prabhupada was laughing. He explained this principle, Ajagara Vritti. Ajagara Vritti means the mouse works hard to create a hole where he will live, but the snake comes, chases out the mouse, and moves in. So Prabhupada was laughing. He said, people created these beautiful buildings for their sense gratification, and we move in and serve Krishna there. Okay, any other questions about questions? We have. We will start our next topic, which is using positive language shortly. But if you have any last question or a doubt about questions, I have a lot of resources to give you to study about questions. But if you use better questions, your thinking will improve, and if your thinking improves, your action will improve. If your action improves, your results will improve, and in this way you will be more happy. Okay, so we are now going to using positive language. The referent verse is 17:15. Krishna describes the austerity of speech. It's the part of description part of description of the austerities in the world of goodness, and Krishna explains austerity of the body, austerity of the mind, and austerity of speech. And austerity of speech is Anudveda Karavakyam verse, which can be implied in two ways. And Krishna says, speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and always reciting the Vedic literature. So if you have a conflict with your husband or wife, you can always go to this verse and check how are you doing. You can check if you're speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial. Actually, sometimes I counsel couples, and I will give them this verse. Actually, I haven't been giving them this verse, well, enough. But this verse is so good for conflict and for creating non-violent communication between people who are supposed to love each other. So, speaking words that are pleasing, beneficial, not agitating to others, truthful, and always reciting the Vedic literature. This is the last point. Always reciting the Vedic literature. So by reading aloud, by discussing Shastra, our thinking becomes also purified and improved, and also our communication with ourselves and with others will improve. Now, as I was doing coaching with people, and we spoke about how people think and how people talk to themselves, I realized that this verse can be used for improving self-talk. Can you open the window again?
Yes.
Improving our self-talk, our inner dialogue, and I have a whole seminar only about this. I did it in Radadesh a few months ago. It's very important to be able to observe our inner dialogue. You can call it thinking, you can call it self-talk, I don't mind how you call it, but it's the same thing. We observe the functions of the mind, how the mind speaks to us, what feelings are manifested from the mind, and what desires are there. So thinking, feeling, and willing are the functions of the mind, and they are related to the inner dialogue. And if we look at what acharyas do, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Raghunadas Goswami, they address the mind, my dear mind. Even they address the mind with my dear brother. So mind is like a mechanical person that is talking to us all the time. And if we identify with the mind, with the conditioned mind, we will suffer a lot. But if we see that I can observe the mind and I'm not this mind, it doesn't matter how much it influences me and my life, but actually I can observe. When you realize that you can observe the functions of the mind, it's easier not to identify with the mind. So you can check, is my inner dialogue truthful, pleasing, beneficial for me, pleasing for me? Is it not agitating to me? And is it always full of scriptural content? My inner dialogue. So you can assess by this verse, how is your inner dialogue? So one way, some people, I ask devotees how they would like to talk to themselves, ideally speaking. So you can tell me, how would you like to talk to yourself all the time, ideally speaking, in the mind? Or even you can talk like this, but people may think you are crazy to talk to yourself. So how would you like? What kind of...
Dialogue.
Huh?
What kind of dialogue we have in general?
Let's see. Okay, I'll give you an example, then you will be more clear. Some people tell me, I would like to talk to myself as my mother. To my mind, as my mother talks to me. So, as what person would you like to talk to yourself?
I prefer no mind.
Huh?
I would prefer no mind, just stillness. Yeah, I would prefer that.
No mind?
Just quiet, just quiet.
Is it possible?
I'd love that.
You would love this. Okay. That's your preference. Okay, good. More?
Before Krishna talking.
Is Krishna talking to you?
Amplify, yeah.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's nice. You can talk to your mind as would Krishna talk to you.
Yeah.
So basically, it can be Shastri.
Yes.
Yeah, because Krishna speaks to Uddhava, Krishna speaks to Arjuna. Okay, more?
What about the higher self? Like
As your higher self?
yeah.
If you are clear what it is, then yes.
If I'm in stillness and I feel clarity, what would my higher self say to me?
So it's always friendly, it's always wise.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. As my higher self. What else? Okay, when you say Krishna, you can say also as Super Soul. The Super Soul is here waiting to talk to us. We don't hear the Super Soul, unfortunately. Imagine if you could hear the Super Soul. People ask, so who is talking to me? Is the Super Soul or the mind? How to make a distinction? So we can discuss that too. Anybody else? If you would have somebody following you whole day and talking to you, which is happening actually already, it's happening. Mind is following us, talking to us. But who that person ideally would be? Who would be your best follower? Yeah.
Someone who doesn't criticize you when you make mistakes.
Okay, nice. Someone who doesn't criticize us.
Encouraging.
Is there such a person? Huh?
I said encouraging.
Encouraging, yes. So we are coming closer to an ideal person. Apart from Krishna, huh?
Accepting.
Accepting. And who is such a person?
Guru Maharaj.
We are coming to Guru Maharaj, and maybe who else? And anybody else? Okay, if you can hear Srila Prabhupada, I can give you a machine which has 2,000 hours of Srila Prabhupada. Indian devotees created it. It's great. You have a little notebook and you can choose a number and get the lecture. All the lectures, all the bhajans. Who else? Somebody more, maybe easier to access. Have money? Yeah. Who?
A coach.
The coach. I like that. I like to talk to my mind as a coach would talk to me. And I have experienced coaching sessions. I mean, I was a client. So I know that this person believes in me. This person sees me positively. This person sees my potential. This person is always encouraging. So many supportive things are there. So I try to talk to my mind as a coach. But coach is not only soft. So coach will be having a balance between strictness and softness. I would like to be a little bit on the side of strictness, like at least 49, 49, 51, or it can be 55, 45. I think it's good always to push ourselves a little bit, but not too much. So now we see that we can choose how we talk to our mind. And believe me, these 3 words are so simple, and they come from acharyas, not from me. They can do miracles if you use them. If you use my dear mind and tell him what you want your mind to think, what you want your mind to feel, and what you want your mind to desire, he may rebel, but slowly, or it may start to obey and to cooperate. So what I say to my mind is, my dear mind, please cooperate in my efforts to make spiritual advancement, to serve devotees, to serve the mission. And the mind says, well, I don't know about that. I will think about it. Okay, think. But please, this is a very important proposal. We also don't use enough in our thinking, my dear Lord. We don't use it enough. My dear Lord. If we address Krishna, he is a person. Or my dear Srila Prabhupada, if we address them, they are persons, they hear us, then they will help us more. It's a very simple thing, but we don't use it. My dear Lord, please help me. If you face a temptation, if you are honest, you will pray to the Lord for strength to pass the test. On the spot. So, we just did the podcast on Inner Dialogue with Harikata Prabhu. He's from Zurich. And he finished, he said, can I read something to end the podcast? And he read the whole description how Prabhupada came to America and how he succeeded. And then he asked me, okay, do you have any comments? And I said, yes. Can you imagine what kind of inner dialogue Prabhupada had when he didn't give up? Despite all the challenges, he didn't give up. So what kind of thinking you want to have, what kind of inner dialogue you want to have to become determined, enthusiastic, always unbreakable, connected to Krishna. You can choose. Do you know that you can choose how you think, you can choose how you feel, and you can choose what you desire? Do you know this? Once we know that we have a choice, we put ourselves in a powerful position, and then what is up to us is that shall I be sincere, on the spot, and in the moment of choice, in the moment of temptation, shall I be sincere and choose the right thing? So now, regarding feelings, can you please get up? We have much more power over our feelings and thinking and desires than we think. And now we can do something that is not even so subtle. It's just the changing the position of the body. So this is called depression yoga. And try to be depressed in this position. What? Try to feel bad. Depressed? Yeah, depressed, negative. Try to be negative, grudging in this position. It's very difficult to feel bad when the hands are up. And I didn't get this from any yoga teacher, any New Age book or mundane success teachers. I got this from the altar. This is from the altar. So why God, who is the most intelligent person, has his hands up all the time? There must be something there. You can see that. Oh no, please stay. No, sorry. We didn't finish the exercise. Now, do this Swami step and try to double your depression. Try to feel double worse, how you say. It's very difficult. You are laughing. Imagine you are fighting with your wife or husband with raised hands. You will laugh both. And now keep doing both of these things and start chanting Hare Krishna and try to triple your depression. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You are very bad students of depression yoga. Instead of becoming depressed, you can become ecstatic. So just by changing the posture of the body, we change the mind, change the way we feel, change the inner dialogue. And imagine, can you feel bad if you walk like this? It's impossible. It's impossible. So why dancing is an important part of our culture. Have you heard of Tony Robbins, motivational speaker? So I wrote him and I told him, did you know the Hare Krishna's first thing they do in the morning, they dance? He said, oh, I didn't know this, that's great. Because he is teaching that motion brings emotion. Motion brings emotion. So I told him that, this is, he's also a vegetarian, he's teaching vegetarianism. So, there is so much we can do to improve our life and to feel better, despite all the, adibhautika klesha, adhyatmika klesha, adidhamika klesha. And to me, the root cause of most problems is negative inner dialogue and material inner dialogue, not spiritual inner dialogue. So we want to have a spiritual inner dialogue, and positive inner dialogue. Now, how do we deal with people? What do we tell people? We can do the same thing to ourselves also, to our mind. We want to encourage people. We want to support people. We want to highlight the potential of people. We want to point out their talents. We want to tell them, you can do it. Yes, you can. And things like this. And my teaching of success is a little bit different than the modern. For example, the affirmations that you can get outside. I don't like them always. Somehow they don't click with me. Because they're based on the understanding that we are the doer. We are the main doer. I like affirmations that are connected with God, with Krishna, because He is the source of power. So you can only use affirmations who are connected with Krishna. Mahatma Prabhu has made affirmations in relation to japa that are very, very Krishna conscious. So we can use Krishna conscious affirmations to improve our inner dialogue. One of the main tools for improving inner dialogue in the material world are affirmations, but we can have Krishna conscious affirmations. Imagine if you say to yourself, I chant my rounds every day, attentively, 108%. So if you tell yourself this, then it's difficult to take japa and have a sloppy rounds, because you have been telling yourself what you want, that you want to chant attentively. If someone provokes me and I start feeling angry, I don't allow anger to grow. I just take a deep breath, pray to Krishna, and try to react as a devotee, for example. And it pays off to prepare for testing or tempting situations, whether it is self-gratification or something rude. To prepare, because it will come. It will come. We speak about people being tested, Jesus being crucified, Haridas Thakur beaten, but actually more difficult temptation is something pleasurable, and Haridas was also tested with that. 2 times, once Maya, once prostitute came to offer him enjoyment. This is a harder test to pass than to be beaten. But he was completely fixed. He was completely fixed. So you can have an amazing inner dialogue about preparing yourself for temptations that can come, and saying no to Maya when the time comes, and yes to Krishna. And I always say that we are not only what we present on Facebook, smiling face, beautiful dhoti, beautiful sari, or people sometimes have bathing suit. I don't know why they want to do this, but they do it. And you are not only this, what you present on Facebook, you are what you do when no one is looking. So what is integrity? Integrity means that when actually there is no moment when no one is looking. Krishna is always looking. So that when only Krishna is looking, you do the same as if you are watched by your Guru Maharaj or anybody else. I mean, devotees. So you are honest. When nobody is watching you, you are the same as if people are watching you. That's not easy. We have to admit, it's not easy. For example, maybe you like Bollywood videos, and if somebody is around you, some devotee who is like maybe fanatical in Krishna consciousness, So you wouldn't watch Bollywood videos when they are around. But if they're not around, you may say, well, I can watch 5 minutes or 3 minutes or something like this. But if you have the video like this and you say, okay, my dear Lord, this is a video that I am not going to watch for your pleasure. And Krishna says, yes! Smile. Like when this Brahmana was burning his finger, he was cooking in the mind, but it was such a strong meditation on pleasing the Lord that he burned his finger, and Vishnu smiled at Vaikuntha because he saw how his devotee is so dedicated. He has nothing to cook, but he's cooking in the mind to please the Lord. So similarly, Krishna will smile when he sees that you say no to Maya. And your inner dialogue is such that you convince your mind or your senses not to indulge and not to fall down. So, do you have any questions so far about this positive inner dialogue? I mean, there is so much. I have also another course. I mean, for all these topics I have a separate course, but this is an overview. Positive inner dialogue, spiritual inner dialogue, use positive language in every situation, use words that will uplift. Bad word can kill someone. Because of one word, some people commit suicide because they are offended or hurt. But people can be saved if you send them encouraging, supportive, loving word. They can be saved from suicide. We have this experience. And also for our own inner dialogue, if we tell ourselves that we are bad or others are bad, we criticize ourselves or others, this will not help our success. So this verse is so important in the Bhagavad-gita, speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and always reciting the Vedic literature. So we are coming close to our break, which will be about 10 minutes, maybe a little more, 12 minutes. And do you have any questions about this?
Suppose you have a very strong mind, very, very strong, very fixed. Suppose you have a very strong mind.
Yes.
Supposing a person has a very, very strong mind, very, very fixed in like a negative way of seeing things. I mean, I know people like that, and no matter what you do, and it makes no impact. It's just very fixed. You know what I mean? And it seems that they're like stone. Their mind's like stone, and your words are like just air bouncing on the stone, and it doesn't change them. It doesn't make an impression.
Right.
What I mean, and I know my mind is quite fixed as well. I mean, and once I get in a negative mood, it's like it takes a lot. Do you know what I mean? It really takes a lot, and many times, I just forget about being positive.
But how does it feel to be negative? Do you like it?
It feels miserable. It's kind of miserable, yeah. So it's very miserable and sort of and a sense of failure that you haven't made progress, you haven't changed it. But somehow that's the reality. It's like, what do you do? You have a mind that's so fixed in negativity. What do you do?
I will reveal to you the greatest secret of success of all times, all universes. It's called daily practice. So as we have developed a habit of negativity, we can start to develop a habit of positivity. And we can have some sentences that we repeat. We can catch ourselves starting to be negative. It's very important to catch the negativity early, our negative self-talk early. Then it's easier to control it. If you let it develop, then it's not so easy to get back to positive or to spiritual. But practicing like reading aloud is so powerful. I mean, you train your tongue and your mind to speak spiritual things and positive things. And you can practice encouraging at least one person a day, saying something, appreciative of them, or encouraging or supportive, showing some affection, showing that you care, You can tell people your life is important to me, and I'm not only talking, I can prove it. And you start to like it more than negativity. Some people admit it to me. They like misery. They have developed a taste for being depressed. It's like you enjoy self-pity. Poor me. There is some taste in this, isn't it? A little bit of taste is there. You know, nobody notices me. It's also a way to draw attention, to be miserable, isn't it? Yeah.
Is it because it's
Oh,
easy?
sorry.
Sorry.
You are first. Yeah.
Is it because it's easier to feel sad than to feel happy?
Yeah, it's an austerity to be happy. A good point. If I would have a cookie, I will give you a cookie. Yep. It's easier to criticize others than to encourage them, isn't it? It's easier to criticize others than to encourage them. Regarding getting angry, what I say is that it's easier to get angry at others. It's more difficult to get angry at your bad habits. And there is so many ways you can use. For example, if you want to, my wife, she challenged me. She said, "You're Mr. Positive, so why are you being so negative?" Your wife can actually make a very positive coach. She can make him negative. She has this Shakti. It's called anti-coaching Shakti. And I said, okay, I have learned from one of my coaching mentors that if I want to improve, I should pay when I make mistake. So I gave her £10. This was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It was maybe £10 now, it's not the same value due to inflation. And I paid once because I caught myself, she caught me, being negative second time. One day I said, from now on, if you catch me, I will pay you. And I paid once and never again. So, also she let me travel and preach. So there was not so many situations. But I say to devotees, for anger management, if you catch yourself getting angry, give £50 to the temple, or for book distribution, or for, And next time when you're getting angry, you will think twice. Does it pay off? So they say, oh, I can't control my anger. Well, you can. Imagine if you get angry, then there's like 1 ton of cotton, not cotton, iron falls on your head. You would know how to control yourself. If you have to, then you can. But because you have an option to not, then you are choosing still to indulge in negative feelings or things like that. Okay, so thank you very much. Yes? Yes, you say.
Yeah, I have a question. The question for me is about the indulgence of the mind. So what happens is, it's like a situation where your false identity is challenged. Challenged about it.
Yeah.
And then part of you don't react at that moment because of, being whatever it is. But the inside dialogue is like, how dare, or how, and then you indulge in that. You just indulge and you just go on and on. And how do you snap out from that? Because it's like a situation that's happened where your identity is challenged or something that's challenged. You don't react because you choose not to react for whatever reasons, Krishna conscious or whatever. But your inner dialogue hasn't stopped.
So?
And you indulge in this inner dialogue. And every time you see that person again, that inner dialogue is what...
and why do you indulge?
How do we come out of this?
No, why do you indulge?
It's the senses. Why do I indulge? Wishing you are and I won't.
If I tell you something, you will faint. Are you ready?
Yes.
I say things that people really, really get disturbed with, and which I believe they are true. For example, I say that depression is a choice. Unconscious or conscious, some of you are nodding with your head, unconscious or conscious, depression is a choice. Negative feelings are a choice. Indulging in criticism is a choice. And when we understand that I am the one who is choosing this, then you put yourself in a responsible position and you put yourself in a situation to make a better choice next time. And again, the secret to not doing this is this.
Exercise.
Daily
Practice.
exercise.
Catch yourself many times doing this.
So I physically, really, when it happens, come down on my like this and do like that.
Remember the seminar. Yeah, you can do this.
Now, how do I snap off? Doing actually like what you did now.
Whatever works for you. You can have something on your finger to remind yourself. You can have beeper. I mean, whatever works for you. I don't know what will work for you. I have learned here in England. One of my mentor coaches, he told me. He says, "Akrura," he came from America. He says, "You're a spiritual person. Why you always sound like a person who is in anxiety?" And I wasn't aware of this because I was, surviving and get a. Me and my wife barely can cover all the monthly expenses and traveling every day 3 hours from the manor to here, and so there was like struggle for existence. But I didn't want to. I mean, I didn't feel like this. And it was just. It became a habit to be in anxiety. About survival. Like this. How are you doing? Surviving. People say. Now I have so many problems. With physical because my body is getting old, and when people ask me how are you doing, I say getting younger. And I think at least half of my problems will be reduced by this, simply by this kind of answer. But if we say, "Oh, are you willing to hear for 2 hours of all of my problems? Here it hurts, and here, and and my hearts are beating faster, although I didn't fall in love with anybody, but it's something has to do with the blood like this." So you have to practice. This is the beginning of practice, beginning of training. Okay, so please have a break now, 10 minutes. Come back in 10 minutes. And
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So thank you so much to His Grace Akrura Prabhuji. I think he's proving after the first half of the session just how valuable the session is today. So thank you all for coming. If we could just have a really quick group photo, that would be really wonderful for our London College Vedic Studies.